Alright, today we're going to learn some helpful guitar tips that will have you approving with the speed and efficiency of a British Prime Minister's tenure. So we're going to do a couple stuff that's very beginner-centric, and a couple stuff that's maybe set in a more intermediate sense, but I'm going to be playing the whole thing fingerstyle. You can use a pick if you want, but the first thing we're going to talk about is going to sound like this. Okay, so a lot of what we're talking about today is going to be taking root notes and concentrating on how to separate them from chords to really strum up both your playing and your understanding of how anything works in a key. And then we're going to do something a little more advanced where we don't use open chords, but use the same kind of concept, all right? So first of all, we're going to use chords in the key of C, and what I want to do is I want to take just the lowest two strings and talk about all the notes that are in the key of C in playing position, okay? So what I mean by that is just the open E string, open 1, 3, which is an E, an F, and a G, and then the A string, open 2, 3, which is an A, a B, and a C, okay? So these are 6 of the 7 notes in the key of C. Now we're omitting a D, which you can also kind of use just by hitting either the open D string or the 5th fret on the A string, okay? So let's start out with a C major chord. Okay, now what makes a C major chord are just 3 different notes, a C, an E, and a G. Now the cool thing about the home chord in any key is you can keep part of it, especially voiced on a guitar, and just change the bass note, and there, thusly, you're affecting what we perceive as the root note. On guitar, it's very interesting because the lowest note often has like a very important attribution to the sound, okay? So we can just go backwards through those 6 notes, but keep the top of this chord intact, okay? So what I mean by that is when we play a C major chord, 3rd fret on the A string ring finger, 2nd fret on the D string middle finger, open G, pointer finger 1st fret on the B string. We can just take the lowest note and move from a C maybe to open it up to an A. Okay? So if we just go back and forth between a C major and then an A bass note, C major, which has a name, it's called A minor 7. Great to know the names of the chords, but not necessary for just playing around in the key of C. We have the C, A, C, A. We can even add the G just by moving your ring finger to the 3rd fret on the E string, right? So we end up with this. And again, we're kind of getting 3 different chords, but we're just playing around in the key of C. And now, I think this is really great for beginners because it helps focus and concentrate on maybe striking individual strings. The beautiful thing about doing it in this key is if you miss, you're gonna miss on a string or a note that is in the key. So instead of maybe doing a fingerstyle, like the way I'm doing it is I'm separating the root from the chord just by plucking with my thumb. Now you can also just do kind of concentrated strumming, like if you're playing with a pick or something, you can just aim for that A string, A string, A string, E string. Right? And again, that all sounds pretty good, right? Now, again, over time, you're going to get better at hitting the string that you want. At first, it's going to be a little bit difficult, but over time, you're going to get better at it, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this all the way to a new chord voicing, F major 7, because we're descending through the scale. Remember, C, A, G to F, all right? That's what we're thinking over this kind of chord shape, right? Now, when we get to this F, some people would maybe use their thumb to play it. I'm not a big fan of thumb playing. So I'm just actually going to take my pointer finger and then just switch to a different chord voicing. Now again, you see my middle finger is now on the 1st fret of the B string and my ring finger is on the 2nd fret of the D string, right? So maybe just practice going from this position to this position and getting the same kind of sound on top. And again, we can kind of come up with different names for each of these. C major, A minor 7, A minor 7 over G, F major 7. But we're really just kind of taking what's really cool about acoustic guitar and how we can kind of separate a bass note from the chord and really get some interesting things. So really just focus on getting from that to there. And while you do that, let me tell you about the sponsor of this video, DistroKid. DistroKid actually reminded me, because I was just using it to upload a new album that I did with Andrea, of just how cool this kind of thing can sound, which after we go through some more key of C stuff, I want to do the same thing but in a little more intermediate style, because we just uploaded a song called Wildfire, which sounds like it's the same concept, but we're doing it in a slightly different non-open chord way, which again, I'm going to teach at the end of this video. But I uploaded all this stuff through DistroKid. It's so inexpensive, and it's the best way to get your music on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon. It makes a YouTube video for you, and it's super, super inexpensive. It's like, rarely is a product the least expensive and also the best at the same time. But DistroKid is 100% that product. So if you have any music that you want to put online, you have to do it through DistroKid. There's a discount if you click the link in the description going to DistroKid. So thank you so much to DistroKid for sponsoring this video. Like I said, sign up for that and then listen to that song that I'm talking about because I'm going to teach it at the end of this video, right? But now that you have listened to the pitch while you've gotten your fingers in position to play that, let's talk about some other things you can do in this key, right? It's all about just opening up either of the strings and playing any of these 6 notes to become your new bass note in a chord, right? This is going to work to varying degrees over any single chord that you can play in this key, right? So we already did C major, which really kind of doubles as A minor. But now let's do another chord. Let's do D minor. This is the 2 chord in the key of C, right? So we have, I'm using my pointer finger for the 1st fret on the high E string, my pinky or ring finger, whatever you're more comfortable with the 3rd fret on the B string, and then my middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. And again, the root note, the bass note, can either be the open D string or the open A string, because A is a note in this key, right? So one thing you could do is you could go back and forth trying to strike just the D to the A. And you get this back and forth type sound. But now remember, we could add that C, G. And again, I think that's like a really interesting thing, because we're taking something that's not the home chord, we're taking this D minor chord, and then we're just adding a bass note. I'm just playing in fingerstyle because I think it kind of comes through the mix in just this video better. And again, now I'm creating a little bit of movement just by a static chord on top and a moving bass line underneath. And again, you'll see that this works in varying degrees. Like if I have a low E, to me that's not my favorite sound. But adding that C to a D minor, making it kind of like a D minor 7 over C, I think it's a really cool sound that we can transition different chords, right? You can even take maybe what's cool about that D minor, again that F on top, and move it to the bottom, right? So I think this is the best way to improve your playing from a standpoint of just maybe targeting certain notes that you're trying to hit and really tightening up your strumming or your finger picking, and also just coming up with cool creative ways to maybe turn a single static chord into a chord progression, which again sounds a little bit more like music, right? So I want to transition this and now talk about how we can move it into that that song that we uploaded through DistroKid. All right. So I'm starting with this D minor 9 chord. Okay, this is still going to be in the same key actually, but have a much different sound. So my chord voicing is my middle finger on the D on the A string, the 5th fret. My pointer finger is the 3rd fret on the D string, and my ring and pinky are holding up 5G and 5B. So again, no open strings at the moment. We're just isolating this. And then now what I can do is, still knowing the notes in this key, I can change the bass note, right? So all I'm doing is going from a D to an A. Now again, you could do the same thing, right? I could maybe go open D, then open A. But the nice thing about when you fret a bass note, you have complete control over how long it resonates, how long it sounds out, as compared to if you hit an open string, your pointer finger might nudge against it and mute it. So that's why it's good to be able to go both ways, right? So we've got a D minor 9. I'm just gonna play it 4 times, then move the bass note to an A 4 times, then a G. And then the 4th chord is going to be just like the other one, the other example that we did. Move it to a F major 7. Now I'm playing it F in the bass with my pointer finger, open A. I'm actually not even playing the A string, I'm skipping it. And then an A minor triad, middle finger 1B, pinky 2G, ring finger 2D. And I think that ends up becoming like a really pretty thing, and just kind of based around this D minor 9 chord, which a lot of people might think is advanced. Like I probably played guitar for 10 years before I started dancing with that D minor 9, right? But I wish I had learned it sooner. Then we're gonna get more of an A minor feel, G, F. And now all of these can be representatives of triads, 3-note major or minor chords, right? So if we just go by the bass line movement, we have a D, an A G, and an F. In the key of C, those chords would be D minor, A minor, G major, F major, okay? So just by using these bass notes, we can come up with a totally different replacement for some of these chords. I can also go back and forth in between them, right? Maybe I want to go, for part of the song, D minor, A minor, G major, F. And that sounds great, but it sounds different than D minor 9, A, G, F. Especially if you're strumming, maybe the open chords sound just different. I'll go back and forth in between them. D minor 7, or D minor to D minor 9, A minor, the other way. I'll go this G, open G, this F. So it's all about just giving yourself options, because I remember when I was first starting to play guitar, I was like, I kinda am getting better at these chords, but I'm practicing other things at the same time, like transitioning between the chords took a long time to make those different shapes and maybe get them clean. But if you can focus on something else at the same time and maybe make it easier for your fretting hand just by moving a root note and kind of planting here, you get the good stuff of that bass line movement and then make it in what I consider a little more interesting, right? I have more fun playing the song like this than maybe D minor, A minor, G, F. Not that one way is better than the other. It's just, it's always good to have options, and you expand your understanding of how things work and just how bass lines work, and maybe you'll find something that you can actually really take and kind of give yourself a voice on a guitar, because it wasn't until understanding how bass line movement worked over static existing chords that I really feel like I found my voice and I really understood that like, oh, I never really want to play the 1 chord. I always want to play the 4 chord as a major 7 or something. And I just feel like I started falling in love with writing songs and writing chord progression a little bit more. And it all comes from understanding what bass notes are available to you. And I think this is a great way to start it, just by focusing on that open 1, 3, open 2, 3. And just making that part of your C major scale from a bass line standpoint. All right? So, thanks for watching this. Thanks for clicking that link in the description for DistroKid for sponsoring this video, and listening to that song Wildfire that we just uploaded. So get those streams, help your boy out, click that DistroKid, get yourself some discounts on getting music online. And if you have any questions or comments, hit me in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.